Sanjan Kumar, how would you interpret it? Because very varied data, and there are multiple layers, because once you actually go down to these districts and you go down to the constituencies, one could say there are so many factors, some of them highly pitched hyper local elections, the other ones on caste fault lines, the equations have changed, the alliances have changed, and then you bring in caste neutral factors like the woman vote.
Yes, Preeti. I mean, as we told that there are many subtext beneath the text, right? So one of the subtext, I think, which could be accounted for this variance in voting percentage is the centrality of candidate factors. And we also, because when we start talking about the larger trend, we tend to talk less about the minuscule factor, and that minuscule factor about which we are not talking is the centrality of the candidate factor in many of the constituency, which supersedes the scheme, party, and leadership factors. So therein you find that at many constituency, because there were hyper expectation about the candidate also, and in terms of the candidate's relatability, I find that RJD and JDU are doing better than, say, BJP, and let's not talk about Congress, LJP, and many smaller parties. So I think one of the factor could be when you do not have a candidate who is relatable, right? So the core supporters of this camp or that camp, right? They do not turn out and vote. And that could be one of the factors that, besides we are talking about gender, youth, teams, leadership, parties, election machinery, all sort of thing. It's the candidate which may be one of the minuscule variable affecting voters turnout, because when you do not find candidates relatable, it's not a wave election.
Right.
That's there are certain undercurrents, right? Now the undercurrent also requires an anchor at the local level. When the anchor is a candidate, say for example, many of the RJD supporters, they are considered to be committed supporter, but that seat has gone to VIP or Congress, and the candidates are there, so they will come out. But the kind of enthusiasm, the same would be true about BJP and JDU, and that could be one of the factor. I'm just going by my experience on the ground that candidate factors, their unrelatability and relatability would be a swing factor to ensure and determine the voter
You're
turnout.
right there, Sanjan. It's huge.
Yes.
It's huge with what you said. The candidate relatability is actually huge. I want to just bring in. I was in Begusarai. I was in the Bachwada constituency, and there I did see a friendly fight, which was far from friendly, and between the left, the Congress, and the RJD didn't really know who to support. But with what you are suggesting, candidate relatability on the other account, also something that we're not really talking about is the JDU cadre actually assisting the LJP cadre on ground, because on many seats I did see that the JDU cadre wants to pay back the LJP in the same coin that of 2020. I want to quickly bring in for final word here, Aarti Jerath. We finally have you back with the voting turnout. What does it look like? Bihar all set to break records, but various districts voting very, very differently. Forget about districts, because some districts are going into vote in the first and the second phase, but constituencies within those districts and other constituencies voting on very, very different patterns. What do you make of it?
Yeah, so I think, Preeti, it really adds up to a very confusing picture. And judging from what your analysts have been saying now, even they are pretty confused about what is happening in Bihar. I think what is really important to gauge, and I think we need to wait for the second phase to be able to gauge that, is how strong is the desire for change in Bihar? Is it strong or is it not strong? And I would feel that, what has happened this time, and which may explain why some places have registered a surprisingly high turnout, is that I think Prashant Kishore, whether he wins seats or he doesn't, he has certainly catalyzed the election into a fiercely competitive election. And today, I mean, both the RJD and the NDA, both the Mahagathbandhan and the NDA have really pulled out the stops to compete, contest these elections with everything they've got. And that itself energizes an electorate, it energizes voters, and which is why many areas where, where the campaign has been energetic and electrifying, you see a very high voter turnout, surprisingly high for Bihar. Because Bihar and UP, two states, are really known for very low turnouts. I mean, 57% last time was high by Bihar standards, and 60% this time is really high by Bihar standards. So, I think what we need to gauge, and we need to wait for more figures, we need to wait for the second phase to finish, is how strong is the desire for change, because that will determine what
Okay.
the outcomes
Javed
will be.
Ansari, getting you in for a quick comment while we are reflecting on multiple aspects, multiple facets of it. Mahila vote, youth vote, caste calculations, Mala vote, the SC vote, all of that, and juxtapose it with what certain seats are projecting where the candidates hold the key hyper-localized elections. What's your final take?
Is that question to me?
Yes, sir, quickly.
So my final take is, let's keep our powder dry. Let's keep our predictions in control. Wait for the second round to get over. A lot of interesting things. All I will say is, because I've been a reporter all my life, I go more by reporters than by what we now sitting in studios say. So going by them, this could turn out to be an interesting election, and this might make all of us.
But the kind of violence that has been reported through the course of the day, Javed, the powder isn't dry in Bihar, at least on the day of polling. But I want to take one quick line. Amitabh Tiwari, will you hold your jury right now on which side, things are tilting or tipping in favor of? Because we practically reached the end of polling now. What's your final take, sir?
No, I mean, just going by the turnout, I think it is a more nuanced analysis which we will have to do, not only male, female, but also districts and constituency specific, and just wait for some further numbers to rather predict the results just basis on the turnout at 5 p.m. because we know that the numbers might significantly change as well.
You're right there. There would definitely be an increase. 10 seconds Sanjan Kumar and 10 seconds Aarti Jerath, and then we go into a quick break. Sanjan Kumar.
Yes, I mean, one question that I would like to engage with, that do people want Nitish out and Tejaswi in? I have not seen that sort of a momentum being there. So therefore, I think it's going to stay the way it's there. It's the undercurrent is for status quoism. Here and there, you may find some change. But overall, I do not see a surprise.
All right, status quo. Undercurrent for status quo is what you're saying. Aarti Jerath.
Well, I mean, I think the voting figures don't suggest an undercurrent for status quo. Although it's still early, we have to wait for the second phase. But the very fact that half the number of constituencies that have voted today have recorded a surprisingly high turnout suggests that it's not an undercurrent for status quo. It could be an undercurrent for change, or it could be an undercurrent in favor of the incumbent. But something is
I'm going to cut you short. We've run out of time, I'm told. But we're going to have all of you back on the show again. Thank you for joining us. So the voter percentage right now, viewers, has surpassed what has been recorded in Bihar in recent elections. We are going to leave it at that. What many of us thought on ground was a silent election. The voter has spoken very loudly at the ballot. Who does the ballot favor, the NDA or the Mahagathbandhan? We'll only know when that last vote is counted.